Hey kids, welcome to God's Workshop! You know why I'm so happy? It's because it's Easter! And what's so great about Easter, more than the chocolates, more than the treasure hunts, is Jesus is risen! It gives us hope, hope, hope to hop, hop, hop. We can hop all day because there's hope, hope, hope. And we are going to have so much fun. We're going to see Miss Harrop with some nice talking times. And we're going to have a story. And we're going to have dancing, music, and a donkey. Yeah! Yeah! All right, he is risen. Let's go, God's Workshop.
Hi, remember the donkey from last week's story? Here he is.
Low in the grave he lay, Jesus my Savior, waiting the coming day, Jesus my Lord.
Up from the grave he arose, with the mighty triumph for his foes. He arose a victor from the dark domain, and he lives forever with his saints to reign.
He arose, hallelujah, Christ arose. He arose, hallelujah, Christ arose.
Death cannot keep its prey. Jesus, my Savior, He tore the bars away. Jesus, my Lord. Up from the grave he arose, with the mighty triumph for his foes. He arose a victor from the dark domain, and he lives forever with his saints to reign.
He arose, hallelujah, Christ arose. He arose, hallelujah, Christ arose. Hallelujah, Christ arose. Hallelujah, Christ arose.
Hi everyone, welcome to God's Workshop. I'm Mrs. Harrop. Lammy and Donkey are taking some time off, but I'm sure we'll see them again. Let's start by learning a special Easter greeting. I say, "The Lord is risen." Then you reply, "He is risen indeed." Let's try that one more time. The Lord is risen. Good. Okay, let's start by playing a game. I'm going to show you some symbols, and you guess what they mean. Okay, here's the first one. Right, so that is the recycling symbol, if you don't know. Okay, we probably see that quite a bit. How about this one? This is a symbol for washrooms. Now this symbol, any guesses? Well, I think this is a symbol for things that you're not allowed to do. Okay? And here's a symbol we've all seen a lot of recently. Yes, wash your hands. Okay. Now, this is a symbol that is associated with Easter a lot, the cross. And today's story, we're going to be talking about why this symbol and the wonderful things it means is so important to us and to the world. Let's get to the story. Jesus had arrived in Jerusalem to shouts of joy, welcomed like a much-loved king. He had cleared the cheating merchants from the temple courtyard and was teaching crowds of people there. Everyone knew he was in town, and although many people loved him, most of the religious leaders hated him. Because of their hatred of Jesus, the religious leaders gathered and agreed to arrest Jesus and kill him. But they wanted to be sly about it. With so many people in Jerusalem, arresting Jesus would start a riot. And it wasn't long before they found their inside man, Judas, one of Jesus' own disciples, came to them and offered to bring them to Jesus when there weren't other people around. The leaders gave him 30 pieces of silver for betraying Jesus, which fulfilled a prophecy made by Jeremiah hundreds of years before. On the night Jesus was going to be betrayed and arrested, he celebrated the Passover meal with his disciples. Passover was a holiday to remember the way God had rescued his people from slavery in Egypt. But this Passover was different. First, Jesus told his friends that one of them would betray him. Then Jesus used the bread and wine on the table to explain to his friends that he was going to give his own body and his own blood so that their sins could be forgiven. That same night, Jesus and his friends went to Gethsemane, the olive grove where they often gathered. Jesus prayed and prayed. He knew what was coming, and he knew it was going to be brutal. But Jesus prayed, "Father, not my will, but your will be done." Matthew 26, verse 45. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour is near, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners." Then they looked up to see Judas leading a crowd of men with swords and clubs. Matthew 26, 48 to 49. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. "The one I kiss is the man, arrest him." Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Then the soldiers arrested Jesus. Immediately one of Jesus' disciples took out a sword and cut off a man's ear. "Put the sword back," Jesus said. "My Father could send angels to protect me." Suddenly, even though Jesus didn't seem to be afraid, all of the disciples were terrified. They turned and ran. Jesus was taken first to the house of the high priest. The leaders had a trial and decided to crucify him, but they needed the approval of the Roman ruler, Pilate. So early in the morning, they took Jesus to Pilate. Pilate knew Jesus was innocent, but like the other leaders, he didn't want to have a riot. So he sent Jesus away to be crucified. Jesus was beaten and mocked. A crown of thorns was put on his head. He was taken to a place called Golgotha and nailed to a cross. Everyone who passed by insulted him as he suffered. Then at noon, it got dark and stayed dark for 3 hours. At about 3, Jesus cried out, "It is finished," and he died. Then there was an earthquake. Even the Roman soldier guarding Jesus said, "This was the Son of God." One friend came and got Jesus' body, wrapped it, and put it in his own tomb. Pilate had the Roman guards seal and keep watch at the tomb. No one could get in or out. The next day was the Sabbath, which meant no one went anywhere. But the day after that, as soon as it began to get light, some women who were Jesus' friends came to the tomb. Matthew 28, 2-6. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were as white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay." The strong soldiers, the Roman seal, nothing stood in God's way. The women turned away from the tomb, afraid yet joyful. They probably thought, if Jesus really is alive, then everything he said is true. He is God's Son. Suddenly they looked up. There was Jesus. The women fell to the ground at his feet and worshipped him. Jesus really was alive. He said to them, "Don't be afraid. Go and tell my brothers that I will meet them in Galilee." Wow. Welcome back. I've emailed some Easter puzzles and coloring pages and word searches to your parents for you. And parents, if you didn't receive them, please email me. I'm in the church directory. And I would also like to thank Peter, give him a special thank you for all his technical help in putting together this video. So, just to wrap up, sometimes it's easy to forget what really happened at Easter. Sometimes we think that what happened at Easter is just a long ago story that we don't really care about. But of all the things in history we learn about, getting to know the story of Easter is something that can change our lives. Here's why. Every single person who has ever lived or who will live needs to be saved. And Easter means we can be saved. John 3:16 reads, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life." Only when we truly understand God's plan to love us and send Jesus to take the punishment for our sin can we become members of God's family. Bye for now.
The story of Easter. Jesus of Nazareth was the friend of many. He told great stories. He healed sick people and did wonderful miracles. There was an important festival in Jerusalem. Jesus went with 12 special friends, his disciples. Jesus borrowed a donkey and rode into Jerusalem. The crowds grew very excited. They shouted and waved palm tree branches. But some of the priests hated Jesus. They began plotting to kill him. On the day of the feast, Jesus ate a special supper with his disciples. Jesus broke bread and gave it to his disciples. But one disciple, Judah, was in the plot against him. He crept out. After supper, Jesus took his disciple to a garden outside the city. "Stay here," and pray, he told them. Jesus prayed to then a crowd of Jesus' enemy appeared, led by Judas. Soldiers marched Jesus away. They took Jesus before the Roman ruler Pilate. Jesus is a troublemaker, said the priest. He must be killed. I can't find nothing wrong with him, said Pilate, but people shouted to kill him, kill him. So Pilate sent Jesus to die. Crewmen punished a crown made with thorns on Jesus' head. Then they led him out of the city. When they reached a hill, soldier nailed Jesus to a wooden cross. They also put 2 robbers on cross. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them." One robber asked, "Jesus, remember me." Jesus said, "Today you will be with me in heaven." At midday, the sky went dark. Jesus cried out and died. Jesus' family and friends watched sadly. A good man called Joseph took Jesus' body and put it in a tomb and rolled a huge stone across the door. Early on Sunday morning, some women went to the tomb. The stone was rolled away, but they couldn't see Jesus' body. Suddenly 2 shiny men stood there. "Jesus isn't here," said one. "He is risen from his dead." The women rushed back to tell the disciples. At first, they didn't believe the woman, but then Jesus appeared to them. And after this, Jesus appeared to many of his friends. Why Jesus cooked breakfast for his disciples beside a lake. A few weeks later, Jesus was taken up into heaven again. The disciples watched. At Easter, we remember that Jesus died and that he is alive forever. The end.
Nothing is impossible! Through you, I can do anything. I can do all things. 'Cause it's you who gives me strength. Nothing is impossible. Through you, blind eyes are open. Strongholds are
Remember the donkey?
Donkey?
Donkey. Here he is.
Donkey? Yeah! Yeah! All right, he is risen. Let's go, God's workshop.